Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list, and here's my top 10 list of the worst directors. Yes, this is my top 10 list of what I think are the worst directors. So there's a lot of shitty directors in Hollywood now. And I thought I'd count down my top 10 least favorite directors, but I'm calling it the worst directors. I think these directors are terrible, and I think they're the worst directors ever. So I thought I'd count down the top 10 worst directors. Alright, before our top 10, of course you gotta have your dishonorable mentions. And the directors that made my dishonorable mentions were Brett Ratner, Brian Levant, Dominic Sena, Uwe Ball, Jason Fredberg, Aaron Seltzer, and Michael Bay. Yes, all fucking terrible directors. All of them suck. They couldn't make the top 10 because there are actually worse directors than that. Believe it or not, there are worse directors than those directors I gave them my dishonorable mentions. And to start it all off is my number 10. And my number 10 is Paul W.S. Anderson. Okay, Paul W.S. Anderson is fucking awful. He's never made a good movie. Like, between Death Race, the Resident Evil movies, the Three Musketeers, Alien vs. Predator, Mortal Kombat, like, he's just an awful director. And he always likes to put his damn wife. I don't like Milla Jovovich. Yes, she's good in The Fifth Element, but that's it. Stop putting your wife in everything. She's not a good actress. And I just don't like it. Like, he sucks the fun out of all his movies. All his movies can be so fun, like Death Race, the Alien vs. Predator movie, Mortal Kombat, the Resident Evil movies. They can be fun movies, but he sucks the fun out of it. That's just the way he does. He just doesn't know how to execute a film properly, and he's just terrible. Hate Paul W.S. Anderson. Number 9 is Stephen Brill. Yes, this guy did last year's Walk of Shame. That movie was one of the worst fucking movies I saw in a long time. Walk of Shame was terrible. He just didn't do Walk of Shame, but he did other shitty movies. Like, he did Without a Paddle, he did Little Nicky, he did a lot of crappy movies. Mr. Deeds, like, he's done some shitty movies, like some bad Adam Sandler movies. This guy thinks he's funny. Like, he tries to do all these weird kind of comedies, and none of them are just funny. Like, Stephen Brill is one of the worst comedy directors ever working in Hollywood. He's just not funny. He just doesn't know how to write a proper script. He doesn't know how to execute a film or structuralize a film. He just doesn't know what comedy is. He doesn't know what true comedy is. Watch some Mel Brooks movies. You'll know what true comedy is. Coming number 8 is Rennie Harlan. Yes, as much as he has a few guilty pleasures, like I loved Cliffhanger, it's a guilty pleasure of mine, and Dyer 2, but his bad movies are agonizingly bad, like 12 Rounds, last year's The Legend of Hercules, oh my god. Also, the movies Driven and The Covenant, like, those are just disgusting, repulsive movies. He just doesn't know the true art of film, and, like, he can make some movies fun, but then when he tries to get, like, really serious, it's just god-awful. It's almost embarrassing to watch. Coming number 7 is M. Night Shyamalan. Yes, M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. I can't stand M. Night Shyamalan. He's an awful director. Yes, he did Unbreakable and The Sixth Sense. They're great movies, but this is the director that pisses me off more than any other damn director. And it's not just because he made bad movies like Signs, The Village, After Earth, Lady in the Water. It's not because he made those god-awful movies. The Happening. Actually, I find The Happening kind of funny, but it's not because he made those god-awful movies. It's because he ruined my favorite cartoon of all time. Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of the greatest cartoons ever made, and he just took a giant turd on it when he made The Last Airbender. That movie is undeniably bad. That is, like, my least favorite movie. Like, if anyone wants to know what my least favorite movie of all time is, it is The Last Airbender. I hated that movie so much. It got everything wrong. It not only got the names wrong, but it got the story wrong. It was very, very poorly done. Execution, structure, the characters, everything. Everything in that movie was terrible. Even the action scenes sucked. The bending scenes, they were terrible. It took forever to bend. And, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender holds really dear to me. And M. Night Shyamalan just really, really fucked it up, and it pisses me off. Still to this day, it pisses me off. Coming number 6 is Rob Zombie. Yes, this guy thinks he knows horror movies. I can't stand a single one of his movies. Yes, he tried his best with the Halloween movies. I guess the first Halloween movie is, tolerable. Halloween 2 sucked, but I don't like his horror movies. I don't like The Devil's Rejects. I don't like House of a Thousand Corpses. I don't like his movies. I don't find them good. I don't find them creative. I just find them gross, sexual, and just disturbing. And disturbing doesn't mean scary. Like, I want to get scared by a horror movie. I don't want to be grossed out. And that's what I feel every time I watch a Rob Zombie movie. I'm just grossed out. He's not a good director. Trust me. Coming number 5 is Tyler Perry. Yes, let's put aside that he gave a good performance in Gone Girl. I'll put aside that because he was amazing in that. As a director, he is just terrible. You want to see a director who makes the same movies all over and over again? Like, that's what Tyler Perry does. He makes the same damn movies. It's always got, like, the Medea chick, and it's always about, like, this girl, she's struggling, she has an abusive husband or something. There's always a drug dealer or a prostitute in these movies, and it's all about women empowerment, and I'm all for women empowerment, but the way Tyler Perry does it, it's just, it comes off as cliche and formulaic, and all his movies are the same. Like, he thinks that when he's trying to be, like, deep, it comes off more offensive than just deep and poetic. It's just weird, awkward, and kind of offensive. Like, I don't like any of Tyler Perry's movies. The Why Did I Get Married movies, those are terrible. Diary of a Bad Black Woman, Medea's Family Reunion, Medea Goes to Jail, and Medea's Witness Protection Program. I think he needs to get through his head that Medea is not funny. I don't care for that character. She's not a funny character. You know, he's playing the she, but yeah, I can't stand his movies. The only movie he almost got right was I Could Do Bad All By Myself, because I like the music in that movie, but it still went under the same formula and had the same stupid shtick in every Tyler Perry movie. It still failed. I don't like any of Tyler Perry's movies, and I can't stand that all his movies make money. God, this guy needs to quit. Coming number 4 is Dennis Dugan. Yes, this is the worst comedy director ever. Like, this is the guy who did Grown Ups 2, Jack and Jill. Like, yes, Jack and Jill. You Don't Mess with the Zohan. I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. All the worst Adam Sandler movies are all done by this fucking guy. This guy. That's all I gotta say. He's terrible. Number 3 is Marcus Nispel. I know this guy hasn't made a lot of movies, but the 3 movies he made are horrible. Absolute shit. That is Conan the Barbarian, Pathfinder, and Friday the 13th. Oh my god, these movies are bad. Like, oh my god. Like, every year when these movies came out, all those years, they were the worst of that year. Like, Friday the 13th is one of the worst horror movies I have ever watched. Probably not number 1, but it's definitely in the top 5. It's terrible. Conan the Barbarian, when did that movie come out? Like, 2010, 2011? It was in, like, my top 2, top 3 least favorite movies of that year. And Pathfinder, one of the most forgettable movies ever. And, like, this guy is just terrible. I heard he's making a couple movies in the future. I am not looking forward to, at all, seeing those movies. He's just a terrible director. He's not good at action movies, and he's certainly not good at horror movies. Coming number 2 is Brian Robbins. Yes, I wanted to put this guy at number 1 because I think this guy is one of the worst directors like ever. Like, this guy did like Good Burger, Norbit, yes, the Eddie Murphy movie, The Perfect Score, the movies Meet Dave, Shaggy Dog, 1,000 Words. Like, those movies are just disgusting. They're just terrible. They're not only bad comedy family movies, but they're just bad movies in general. They just leave a bad taste in your mouth every time you watch them. They're horrible. A lot of those movies have, like, great actors, but he somehow makes all these great actors look like shitty Razzie actors. Like, I think this guy has won a few Razzies. I don't know how many, but he's up there. He's up there with Dennis Dugan of winning the most Razzies. He's a horrible director. I wanted to put him at number 1, but he's just not as iconic as this number 1. So yeah, let's get to my number 1. And my number 1 least favorite director, aka worst director, is Edward D. Wood Jr. Yes, Ed Wood. I love that movie. The Tim Burton movie, 1991, Ed Wood, with Johnny Depp and Martin Landau. Amazing movie, because it's a biography movie about this director. But this director himself is the crown and jewel of crap. He is the worst director of all time, and I can't take that away from him. He's been that title himself. Like, he is known as the worst director of all time. I can't deny him that. Like, throughout this guy's life, he always wanted to be remembered, and he's remembered as the worst director of all time. I won't take that away from him. I've seen his movies. They're god-awful, like Glen or Glenda, Bride of the Monster, Night of the Ghouls, and of course, one of the worst movies of all time, Plan 9 from Outer Space. They're just undeniably horrible. He's known as the worst director of all time, so I had to put him at number 1. I loved the story about him, and I love the movie about him, but him as a director is just terrible. I've seen all those movies. I can maybe laugh at them, but they're just terrible. They're some of the worst movies I have ever watched in my entire life. There's no one who can make a bad movie better than Edward D. Wood Jr. So yeah, that was my top 10 worst directors list. So yeah, comment below, who do you think is the worst director? Give me your top 10 least favorite directors. Comment below, and let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like, subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.